when it comes to the only strategy that you need to trade boom and crash, then I think you already know this, but there's no such thing as just having one strategy on its own to trade boom and crash, right? You have to combine a little bit of more concepts, right? So in this video, I've combined three strategies that we are going to be using to get what the best and only strategy that you might need, right? So if you use this in conjunction, then you might get what a very good trade, right? So what I'm going to be doing over here is I'm going to be using I'm going to be entering using what my zone flips, right? And after using my zone flips, I'm going to be using my moving averages, right? So I'm using the moving average period of 200, then method exponential apply to close. Then they say it's dark orchid, but I see it as purple. I don't see. Maybe I'm colorblind, but all these colors. Like, I'll check how many purples I over here, right? But I just like purple, right? So I click what okay, right? And then I'm also going to be adding another moving average period what 50, right? So 50 apply to close. Then I'm using black for this one. There's only one black. If you think there's navy black, then you have to go back to to primary school, right? So right over here, then I'm going to be adding what the RSI, right? So right over here, I'm going to be combining the RSI, the moving averages, and the what and zone flip strategy, right? So this is likely going to help me to help with what with trading, with getting the best out of boom and crash, right? So right over here, let's start by what we always trade in line with the trend. That's what I preach. That's what I teach, right? We have to trade with the trend always, right? So how do we know the trend, right? So first of all, there's the market structure point of view with it, right? So we are right over here creating what a series of lower lows, lower highs, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower low, blah 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 blah. So we are clearly in a downtrend, right? And over here again, we can also check the trend by using the moving average crossover, the 50-200 crossover, right? So right over here, the 50-200 cross for what? For a sell, right? And if the moving average, especially the 200, is above the candlesticks, it means that the market is what? Is going down, is bearish, right? So over here, that's what we have to look for. And then we can also use we're also using the RSI for our entries, right? But for our entries, mainly we're going to be using the 50 moving average in combination with the RSI, right? But for our entries, for the trend, we can also use the RSI. That's why I labeled these levels still buy and these levels still sell. Oh, I didn't show you the levels. I think I forgot to do that. Right, so the RSI we're using period 21, right? And the levels of the RSI is the level 40 is still buy and the level 60 is still sell. Then the 50 is equilibrium, which means we can use it to both buy or sell, right? It's in the middle. Yeah, it's in the middle, right? So over here, then you click OK, right? So over here, right, if we're in a downtrend, right, the market pulls back to the what? To the 50 level or the 60 level, right? Most of the times when it pulls back around the 50 level, it's also on the 50 moving average. And when it pulls back to the 200 moving average, it might be around the level what? The level 60, right? So I'm going to show you how to enter using all this, right? So but we are only going to be entering what using what zone flips and a little bit of order blocks, right? So I didn't want to go into order blocks, but I guess I don't have a choice, right? So because we want to get what the best of the best, right? So over here, how are we going to be entering, right? So over here, we're going to be entering what? Let's take this for example over here. We're going to be marking what these zone flip areas over here, right? So right over here, we've got this zone flip area over here, right? The market broke past it, right? And it immediately came forward for a retest, right? So maybe we might mark also what this order block over here, because this was the last order block before the market broke structure. Right? So this area over here, we mark that candle, we mark them both. Oh, it's too big. I think you see the candles that I want to mark. Right, these two candles over here. Right, so when the market put back to that area over there, right, and it's also on the 50 moving average, it's also on a zone flip area, and right over here, that's when you drop down to the RSI levels, right? And if you don't know how to use the RSI correctly, then I suggest you watch the RSI video on my channel, right? If I forget to leave the link, then comment in the comment section down below if you want to know how the RSI works, and I will remember to post that link over here, right? When the market pulls back to this area over here, the RSI is also on the level 50, ranging below at the level 50, right? So we can take our entry when there's a proper candlestick confirmation, right? So what we have to know is that as long as if the RSI, if the market is not breaking past the level 60, wherever the RSI turns, we're still in a sell, right? as long as if it hasn't broken past the level 60, right? And there are times when it just gives a little bit of a peak and then goes back. I still consider that as not a breakout. What I will consider a breakout is something like this, right? When this RSI starts to consolidate like above the level what? Above the level 60. But other than that, it's still in a downtrend, right? So over here, right, we got our first entry over there, right? Then let's see if we get an entry over here, right? This time we didn't get an entry unless maybe we were using what? We're using order blocks, right? So yeah, we didn't even get an entry using order blocks, right? So over here, the market breaks past that, right? Mark this zone flip area next. So we've got this zone flip area here, right? And we want it to coincide with what? The 50 moving average also, right? And as you can see, the market put back to the 50 moving average, right? It's also at the 50 level over here. Over here, it's also at the 50 level on the RSI, which means we are still what? We are still in a downtrend, right? And gives us second to see confirmation. That's when we enter, right? And we hold that trade, right? Then over here again, we mark this zone flip area over here, right? The market pulls back to it, right? So I want you to treat zone flips as a range, right? I don't want you to treat it as a single level because as you can see over here, we only tested the 50 moving average. We didn't quite touch the zone flip level, right? But if you are considering it as a zone, then most probably you would have seen that the market is now what respecting what is not showing is now showing what a slowdown in momentum and is now turning, right? And when the RSI started to turn and you've got a candlestick confirmation over here, you would have entered maybe on this candle right over here when you see that the market is already going, right? So that's what you have to do in order to get the best trade on boom and crash, right? So the same thing just applies for your buy setups, right? So over here, we're just looking for what? Let's say, take this for example over here. Where can I mark this? Right over here, right? We've got our zone flip over here. I tested 1-2 times, right? Then as you can see, the RSI later broke past the level 60, right? And it started to range above the level 60, right? So this means that we are now in an uptrend, right? So over here, what are we going to be looking for? Right? The market pulls back to that area, right? It doesn't quite touch the 50 moving average, so it's not a clear entry, right? So over here, we maybe leave this trade because it didn't pull back to the level what? To the level 60, right? Then we mark the next zone flip area. Let me take the crosshair, right? The next zone flip area is also close to the what? To the 50 moving average, right? And as you can see, it started giving us what? A W, a candlestick confirmation, and after this green engulfing candle, this one over here, right? We enter and we hold from here up until somewhere over there, right? And then over here, we only put back to the 50 moving average, right? Though I use the 50 moving average for my entries because I'm a BTM trader, by the way, so the moving average is enough for me. I don't have to wait for I don't have to look for the zone flips, right? But if you are if we're talking about the best strategy over here, we have to wait where there's a combination of them both, right? So yeah, let's take this example over here. So as you can see over here, that's why I always say trade with the trade, right? So over here, as you can see, the market is what broke a little bit of structure. Then we've got a slight pullback, right? Testing out our zone flip and also our 50 moving average, right? But guess what? The 250, 200 haven't crossed yet, right? So that's why I always enter when the 50 and the 200 have already crossed, because that way I'm certain that the market is what is now in a downtrend. As you can see, if you entered over here for this sale over here, you would have lost, right? Maybe you'd have gained if you were just scalping, but eventually it broke past it and continued it continued going up again, right? So it's better you stick to these zone flips areas over here, right? So we've got this zone flip area also over here, testing what this area over here, since we are still in a buy trend, right? So over here after this engulfing candle, you enter because it didn't break the level 40, right? You enter there, maybe move your zone flip area over here, right? We've got this zone flip, this order block, right? Tested over here again, and you enter. So we just want a confluence between a moving average and a zone flip area or an order block, right? And the RSI, we're looking at those levels and making sure that they haven't been broken yet, right? And we just want to enter in line with the trend for us to get the best entries possible. And so if you want to learn how the RSI works, click this video next.